Ryan. Friends, please find your seats if you would. Friends, good afternoon. My name is Kurt Campbell. I'm the Indo-Pacific Coordinator at the National Security Council at the White House. This is a first event for us of its kind. It's an Invest in America event, which we're thrilled to be hosting here at APEC this year in lovely San Francisco. I was going to tell you all about what the event is about, but the truth is we have limited time with our wonderful speaker, Secretary Raimondo. She needs no introduction. She is the star of our administration, the most dynamic, innovative, courageous, incredible leader, helping us pave the way into the 21st century with respect to technology, and is a leading actor in all things that we do in the Indo-Pacific. She's going to explain the event and talk a little bit about what we want to celebrate today with respect to this initiative, Investing in America. Please welcome Secretary Raimondo to the stage.
Thank you, Kurt, for a very generous introduction. I appreciate that. Anyone who knows Kurt knows he's a man with boundless energy and ideas, and I'm grateful to be able to work with you, so thank you. I think that Leo Brainerd is also here, and I know Rita Jo Lewis is here, so thank you both for your work. So this week, I think it's been a tremendous week. I hope you're all having a successful APEC. Of course, we're thrilled to host APEC. Haven't done it in a long time, and I think that it's proving to be spectacularly successful. This event is an effort to showcase how the policies we have in the United States are designed to attract capital from other countries into the United States. We've spent a lot of time this week talking about how U.S. will invest in the Indo-Pacific. U.S. will invest throughout the APEC region. This is about the other way. This is about ensuring that you investors in Japan, Australia, New Zealand, wherever you're from, we want you to invest in the United States of America. I can say, I used to be an investor myself. There has never been a better time to invest in America. Some of the reasons are historic and long-standing. We have the best and deepest capital markets in the world, hands down, best capital markets in the world, best credit markets, best equity markets in the world, excellent colleges and universities, incredible training programs, burgeoning AI industry. We're leading the world in artificial intelligence and technology. So these are all table setting for why you would want to invest in the U.S. Now, on top of that, because of President Biden's leadership, this is a uniquely excellent time to invest in this country. The president came into office with a theory. The theory was that we would invest a modest amount of public capital and that would draw forward a great amount of private capital. We said that we would set the conditions for private capital and seed prime the pump for private capital with our initial investment. And that is what I want to talk to you about today, because that's what's happening. The Inflation Reduction Act is truly a historic, once-in-a-generation, maybe once-in-a-lifetime investment to enable technology, to enable investments in our clean economy transition. And a number of investors are taking advantage of that. You're never going to have an easier time to make money in America than taking advantage of some of the incentives available in the Inflation Reduction Act. So I would encourage you to do that, and I know some of you already are. The CHIPS for America Act, CHIPS and Science Act, same thing, $52 billion investment to strengthen our semiconductor ecosystem in the United States. Yes, we will incentivize big fabs, but it's so much more than the fabs. Like, it's an unbelievable opportunity if you are investors or own companies in the entire supply chain of semiconductors. Japan, Korea, these countries are leaders in the upstream supply in semiconductors, the chemical companies, the design companies, and then in the downstream applications. So because of these historic investments in our supply chain, in semiconductors, in the climate transition, the opportunities are boundless, and we welcome you to invest in America. I want to draw your attention specifically to an initiative that we run at the Commerce Department, Select USA. I want to invite you all to the Select USA conference, which we just started taking applications last week. The conference will be in the Washington, D.C. area in June of 2024, June 23rd to June 25th of next year. Excuse me. It's a Commerce Department initiative designed to assist companies, including the companies that are about to be highlighted, to invest in the United States. I want to be clear about this. We want to make it easy. This is like a concierge service. And I hope you'll hear that from VinFast and from some of the other companies. We want to hold your hand to help you select a state in the United States, to help you get access to capital, to help you find training programs. I personally have gotten on the phone with governors of American states to advocate on behalf of non-U.S. companies working through the Select USA program to make it a bit easier for you, permitting, regulations, et cetera. So I would highly encourage you to take advantage of Select USA. So I guess I will just end by saying President Biden is often says there's never been a better time to invest in America. And I believe it, for all the reasons that I've said. And in the world now where we are all focused on the climate technology, green transition, supply chain diversity, supply chain resilience, U.S. is making investments like we never have before in these areas, and we want to do it in partnership with you, our allies, and we invite you to double down on America, and we promise we'll make it worth your investment. So thank you.
Great thanks to Secretary Raimondo for kicking us off today. Now we'd like to just introduce to you and highlight some key companies that have chosen to invest in the United States. Many of these companies have long experience with us, but have taken recent steps that are exciting that we'd like to highlight. The panel will be convened and moderated by Dr. Lael Brainerd. If Lael would come to the stage now. Dr. Brainerd is the Director of the National Economic Council. She had served as the Vice Chair of the Council of of the Federal Reserve. She's well known to me. So please come on up to the stage, Lael, if you would. Thank you. Please, right behind him, J.S. Choi, our good friend, the CEO of Samsung Display Corporation, Korea-based electronics firm. Also, great thanks to Mark Lippert, who helped bring JS to us. Thank you, Mark, for your service. Also, Madam Thuy, the CEO of VinFast, Vietnam-based auto company focused on electric vehicles and battery production. Our good friend, the indomitable Andrew Forrest from Australia, CEO of Fortescue, indefatigable, tremendous friend of the United States. Thank you for joining us today. And Amanda Lacaze, who is the CEO of Lynas Rare Earths, also joining us for Australia. Thank you very much, Amanda, please. And finally, Mrs. Estrella Ocampo. She's the Chief Business Officer of Neil Pharma, Mexico-based pharmaceutical company. Welcome from Mexico, please.
Well, thank you, Dr. Campbell and Secretary Raimondo for the opening remarks. Thanks to all of you for joining us, and also for this group of really tremendous panelists. APEC is based on the idea that our economies and our workers are stronger when we work together. Today, we heard how U.S. engagement is working for APEC economies. As U.S. companies at the summit announced over $50 billion in investments into APEC economies this year. And companies from the APEC region have also announced investments of almost $200 billion into the United States over the course of this administration. Those investments flowing in both directions are funding projects that are essential for advancing our shared goals to make our economies more sustainable and resilient, our supply chains more diversified, our growth more inclusive, creating good jobs for our workers, and of course also advancing our clean economy goals. So today we're here with 5 business leaders who are making major commitments to the United States by taking advantage of the talents of our workforce and also the opportunities presented by the historic legislative achievements of the president, including those from the Inflation Reduction Act, CHIPS and Science, and the bipartisan infrastructure law. So what I'd like to do is turn to our panelists and ask each of you a question about the investments you're making into the U.S. So Dr. Choi, I want to start with you, and noting that Samsung Display and holding company have announced a significant uptick in U.S. investments spanning key sectors. We'd like to hear about those investments and why now?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dr. It's a breakout. I'm participating as part of Samsung Display. So we have a number of companies investing in United States. Actually, Samsung is actively helping to enhance competitiveness in many of the technologies and the supply chains that have been designated as critical by the US government. Examples are semiconductors and batteries, displays, and biotechnology. As you might know, Samsung is investing $17 billion to build advanced fab in Taylor, Texas, which is currently under construction and expected to go operation by the end of 2024. Additionally, we have partnered separately with both General Motors and Stellantis and investing around $13 billion in Indiana to construct multiple electric vehicle battery manufacturing plants. You see, I'm the head of Samsung Display. I have too many colleagues in our business. Because of that, I must resort to the script. I cannot remember all the business numbers, but still, as a head of display, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce another of Samsung's new investment. We recently completed the acquisition of the Europe-based Imagine, a company which specializes in advanced micro displays. Imagine's cutting-edge displays are even used in the helmets of the F-35 fighter pilots. And we look forward to working closely with the US Department of Defense. The combination of Imagine and Samsung technology will position us at the forefront of innovation in the metaverse market. Samsung will closely coordinate with the colleagues at Imagine to develop next-generation advanced displays. So I'm very proud to be the part of the important investment partners in the United States. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm going to come back and ask you a little bit more about those investments in a few minutes, but let me turn now to Dr. Forrest. You have made major investments recently in green hydrogen and have spoken about your intent to significantly ramp up green energy investments in the U.S. in coming years. I would like to hear how you think about those investments as part of your broader strategic plan.
Okay, it's a really good question. The broader strategic plan we have is to look first at the hideous uptick we've seen in temperatures and, most importantly, humidity, and the fact that we're seeing multiple deaths all over the world now from heat-driven humidity. So we're accelerating our own investments to wherever we can find the best leverage to turn this world away from burning fossil fuels. And there's really not a better country right now in the world than North America, thanks to the 144A. But I do have arguments, as I travel around the world regularly, with presidents, prime ministers, treasurers, economists saying, well, the 144A is doing the wrong thing by us. And I've said, well, clearly you don't know about investment, because all it is a fantastic economic engine. It is an employment driver, it's a wealth creator, and most importantly for other countries who might bring in a lot of energy or fertilizers, et cetera, from imports, which is just draining their own economy, this can replace that. And so I feel that as an advocate of the IRA, we need to spread it around the world. It's what the world needs as we sail into an extremely dangerous future due to global heating. So firstly, I want to say thank you to North America. We've acted very quickly, and to take advantage of that, we've purchased a major building in Detroit. It's actually the old Model T Ford production center building. It's a $35 million investment. And then we're accelerating after that to put the future of, I see, the American economy, the global economy, which is the ability to make all your own energy without any harm to anyone else. And that's just simply with machines which can now be made in North America. I'm talking about batteries, battery intelligence, fast chargers, electrolyzers, all the massive, if anyone knows electrolyzers, there's a huge amount of technical fruit which goes around that. We see a minimum of 600 American new jobs coming straight out of that, and of course we want to start work immediately. We are proceeding with our Phoenix Hydrogen Hub, which is in Arizona. This has a step 1 and step 2 up to around 500 megawatts, so not small, a very large investment. And also the Centralia project in Washington State, also selected by the President as a hydrogen hub. So we're very confident that these 2 green hydrogen centres will accelerate and will enjoy electrolyzers, batteries, fast chargers, everything which we need to create complexes across North America from this new very large facility in Detroit. Now, not everyone in the world wants to invest through a $77 billion company called Fortescue. If they'd like to get straight into investments which are benefiting from the IRA. So we are announcing, in fact, all of these are announcements, but we're also announcing Fortescue Capital. So that capital from around the world, including here in North America, instead of going via Fortescue, a very successful company, Australia's most successful company for shareholder returns in a quarter of a century. But many people want to go, I just want to invest in the IRA. So to do that, we've created Fortescue Capital so we can harvest capital from around the world to put into projects across North America to create American jobs, wealth and exports, and to stop the world burning fossil fuel, which is our ultimate and short-term objective.
So it sounds like today's announcements, today's investments are expected to lead to significant additional commitments over time.
Look, I think relatively in the short term, it'll be hundreds of millions, but that triggers billions of dollars because each of the green hydrogen hubs, Fortescue Capital, as well as this manufacturing technology and production center in Detroit, will require that much capital. And that's a good thing. It's not like a penalty. People look for investments which have an attractive yield, which will help the world stop burning fossil fuel.
That's great. So let me now turn to Madam Tui. And you are also rapidly advancing investments in production of electric vehicles and batteries in the U.S. And talent development is something that you stated is a priority for your company. So I'd like to hear a little bit about your investments and how you think about working to grow the talent workforce and the innovation base as key to your strategic growth plans.
Thank you very much. And also thanks to the Select USA for helping us to invest in the U.S. I think so far we're the biggest investment from Vietnam to the U.S., but we hope that we're going to pave the way for many other Vietnamese companies to start investing in the U.S. Also, hopefully they will get the same courtesies that we get from the U.S. government. We signed the agreement with the state of North Carolina in March last year. This is before IRA. So the IRA just help accelerate our investment in the U.S. I think we felt North Carolina as the place with great talents and skillful workforce and a lot of support from the Governor Cooper as well as the government. So we, together with the universities in North Carolina and with the support from the local government, we set up a center of excellence and many other activities in order to educate the people from not only from the universities but also from other community colleges around our manufacturing facility. At the same time, we accelerating the construction and building out the facility so that we can put it in production soon in 2025.
That's great. Well, I think the president visited that area and just noted how many interlinking commitments there are, that once you see some of these initial investments, that there's a lot of related investment that really builds up the ecosystem, and that talent pipeline starts to grow. Exactly. So we really appreciate the work that you're doing there. Now I want to turn to Ms. Lacaze. You're one of the key players in the global rare earth space, and you're working with the Defense Department to bring, I think for the first time, a major Linus rare earths processing facility into the United States. So it'd be really interesting to hear about that partnership, why you're now investing here in the U.S., and how your plant is contributing to supply chain resiliency here in the U.S.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to say thank you to all of you for giving up your lunchtime. I hope you got something to eat. I was disappointed we didn't need crowd control because, hello, look at us. And as a woman, I have to say that I am delighted to be on a panel where we are 60% women and 40% Australian. It really is great to have the opportunity to be with my fellow CEOs here today. So just talking about answering the question instead of speaking to the audience, I'll start with so I don't think everybody in the world knows what rare earths are and why they matter. Rare earths are used in new technologies in all of the new manufacturing, 21st century advanced manufacturing. They mean new jobs, so that matters for governments. They are used in the new technologies which will allow us to address some of the climate change issues that Andrew was just speaking about. So therefore, it is essential for us globally to have assured supply chains for rare earths. The sorts of things we're talking about, electric vehicles, wind turbines, automation in factories, catalysts which are used in the production of hydrogen, for example, materials which are used in nuclear medicine. These are all really important. Lynas is the only company outside of China that actually mines and processes rare earths. And so at times this is a great spot to be in, and at times maybe rather less so. But every company every country which aspires to have a manufacturing sector needs assured supply of rare earths. And COVID actually showed, in particular, the risk associated with singular supply chains in any of our businesses. So prior to that, and also through that, we've been engaged with the US government and on a partnership which will see development of a processing plant here in the US. The rare earths will come from our mine in Western Australia, the greatest little mining town in the world. And then will be processed in our new processing plant in Kalgoorlie, an initial stage, and then we'll come here to the plant in Texas. Now, the first stage of that plant that we're building will separate what we call heavy rare earths, which doesn't mean they're heavier, it just means that they've got a higher atomic number. That at present we don't even do in our current manufacturing facility. So it creates a new source of supply of essential materials in the West. We've found it to be a fabulous process engaging with the USG, although slow. But I'm sure everyone knows that about government. Really, ultimately, this is about making sure that the free world's largest rare earths company is operating in the free world's largest market.
Well done.
All right. So let me also now just turn to Ms. Ocampo. Just want to hear about your recent announcement of an investment to expand production facilities and hire new workers in Puerto Rico, and just hear from you a little bit about what prompted that investment and what your thinking was that led you to expand in Puerto Rico.
Well, first of all, as I always say, entering the United States market has been both challenging and enticing. When we first decided, and let me say, I come from a region where companies don't tend to go abroad. Latin America is a region that usually tends to stay within its domestic market. So for us, when we made the decision to come to the United States, was a very thought decision, but full of hope. And yesterday, President Biden was saying that the United States is a place that you know one thing, and there's possibilities. So we envisioned this possibility in a very theoretical way at the beginning, and little by little, we've been discovering all its challenges. So we discovered, yes, that there was innovation schemes possible. We also thought that export, as a platform for exports, being within the United States, it would be easier. But then we've been understanding how to do it. This is a very regulated market, the pharmaceutical one. So we started envisioning these steps, and 1 year ago, we partnered with the MPP. What is the MPP? It's the Medicines Patent Pool. And when COVID came, these drugs such as nirmatrelvir, which is a medicine that can be taken and can make a better outcome for a person who has COVID, was given to us. We are the only company within the Americas that has this license. And we will be able to serve patients from various regions in Asia, the Middle East, and Africa through this product. Therefore, it made the decision clear that we have to invest more, that we have to improve our manufacturing processes as well as other export processes.
Thank you very much. So now I want to focus a little bit on the connection between the incentives that are in these historic pieces of legislation and how it actually affects your investment decisions, your business decisions. I want to start with Dr. Choi and just ask you to talk a little bit about the CHIPS and Science Act and how that has changed your thinking about the U.S. as an investment destination for semiconductors, for fabs in particular.
Okay. Actually, we have run our semiconductor foundry chips in the factory in Austin, Texas. It's from 1996. Over the decades, we invested cumulatively around 18 billion. But with that, we also made the production for the DRAM memory and the flash memory and the number of logic chips. But after decades of the operation, we frankly hesitated to invest more. It's mainly because it's a high labor cost in the United States, and the many others is blocking us to invest to United States. But CHIPS Act, when it was made, is almost 52 billion tax benefit. It gives us many benefits. It's because we are in a competition with the other suppliers of chips for many products. It's like headset and the servers, and there's lots of the PC. We should reduce the cost to minimize gap between the other areas. So with the U.S., so when we are getting CHIPS Act, we are pretty happy. We motivated to invest to United States. So I really want to have a tax credit is continued to promote our motivation to invest to United States.
So it sounds like Chips and Science was decisive in your thinking about these expanded investments. Dr. Forrest, you touched on this already a little bit, but IRA has just a plethora of different incentives. It sounds like you're taking advantage of several different kinds of incentives, and these are really to establish supply chains in often technologies and clean energy sources of the future. So can you talk a little bit about how those policy incentives made a difference or are making a difference in terms of your investments?
Okay, so I mean, if we just look at the green hydrogen projects just for a second, because I've spoken with serious excitement about our manufacturing and technology hub in Detroit, but say, I know that we're working well with the US Department of Energy, with Centralia in Washington State, but if I just look at hard and say the $500 million investment, $550 million investment for Phoenix, that takes directly advantage of the tax credit part of the IRA for hydrogen. And I've spoken to leaders all over the world again about this, and I've encouraged them to do it themselves, and they've said, oh, look, it's a incentive which we can't afford, et cetera, et cetera. I've just said, okay, this industry doesn't exist. You're getting a tax credit for an industry which doesn't yet exist. You're giving away something you don't already have, and creating a huge industry which will have all sorts of taxes paid from it, yet the underlying material itself, hydrogen, you're willing to give a credit to because you're not earning anything from it anyway. So you're literally giving away a future benefit you don't have now in order to create a massive new industry. The most important industry, I think, in the world as we go into an extremely uncertain climatic future. So to me, it seems absolute common sense that you would subsidize hydrogen through a tax credit because it's green and because that industry doesn't exist. You need to get it going quickly, like the Model T Ford, get it going, create a huge new industry, and then, as you know, after a few years it stops. But it does incentivize people to not hang back on their reins, but push forward. And it's okay, I'll be a first mover, I'll take the pain of trying out the technology because I will be rewarded through that tax credit. And people who ride on our coattails, start new industries after ours, well, they might not get it. So it encourages new industry players to get cracking, create a huge new industry, create US employment, economic growth, et cetera, with a tax credit against tax which doesn't exist yet. I think it's really clever.
Well, I do too. All right, let me turn to Ms. Lagasse. And I think in your case, I think of the clean energy provisions of the Inflation Reduction Act as really creating a strong downstream demand for your products that might have helped pull that investment into the U.S. How do you think about it?
I think that the IRA is evidence of what the President said this morning, don't bet against America, right? And at its heart, it is about reshoring activities to the US. And I think that its design, and as Andrew just said, you know, its design works because it is attracting investment back to the US. I do think that it's always important to note that often as we think about investment, we will think about capital, and that's fine, that's a hurdle that we have to overcome. But if you can't be successful and cost efficient on an ongoing basis, then you have a problem. And so I think some of the issues around this, around tax rebates and those sorts of things, are important directly, but also indirectly, because as our friend, as the other doctor said, the labour costs are high. You need to therefore be continually innovating if you want to be efficient. And to continually innovate, you can use things like the rebates that you get within the IRA to be able to do that. So I think that in terms of dealing with the whole of the business cycle, not just a step in the business cycle, you've got examples here from each of us where it has caused us to take actions which are positive for our businesses and also for the US.
Okay. And Madam Tui, we have incentives both in the bipartisan infrastructure law, also in the clean energy provisions of the IRA. Just want to hear how those incentives are creating a demand ecosystem for your investments.
Let me talk a little bit about our journey of investing in the US. I think at the beginning, when we started, we're committed to investing in the US before even the IRA, and we were looking for site for our investment. Back in December 2021. And then March last year, we signed the contract. We got, up to $1.2 billion tax incentive and other incentive. It's great, this is wonderful. And then in July, the IRA was announced. And the first call was to Mark Napper, our ambassador, US ambassador to Vietnam. It's what just happened? Just pull the rug out under earth. And anyway, so we spent the next few days reading, through those 700 pages of the IRA, trying and understand and formulate what to do next. So I kind of, what you said before resonate very well with us, because it's a land of opportunities, but we need to be very agile and very flexible to deal with, situations that come our way. So we adjusted our strategy. We made a few changes to our plan to accelerate the production and to make it happen. And now we also have to accelerate bringing in our battery manufacturing facility here, just in case we cannot source the material here under the IRA. So a lot of the planning, a lot of changes happened to our plan, but we are committed to the US. We're committed to our investment here, and we have faith in our partners here in the US, as well as our partners in the US government to continue supporting us along the way.
Well, we are certainly very committed. I want to switch focus now a little bit and talk about developing workforces and the kinds of measures that you're engaged in to do that. So I want to start with Ms. Ocampo and just to ask about what talent development partnerships you need in order to build local STEM talent pipelines for your business. And how you work with local partners on workforce diversity.
Well, I think each industry has its particular concerns and needs. The pharmaceutical industry is one that requires a labor force that is highly trained, but for the manufacturing, but also for development. When we first arrived to Puerto Rico, was one of the things that drove us there. Puerto Rico is the 5th hub worldwide for manufacturing medical products. So we thought that it was a very clear decision why we went there. What we were not expecting is that there were no R&D capabilities within the island. Nevertheless, and that's one of the things that you find when you come to the United States, there's always paths. Maybe in the moment you won't find an answer, but it has been a great path, of working alongside with the government. Because when we found this out, we first were shocked. What will we do? But then we started working with universities. We started working also with the federal government. And let me just give some examples. In terms of universities, we have worked with Polytechnic University of Puerto Rico, with the MedTech College, with the Inter-American University of Puerto Rico. We have developed different programs within the universities, but also as mentorship programs within our company, internship programs, first job programs. Also, along with the federal government, we work with the NIST, the MEP, and there is also something called Primex within Puerto Rico that works with this two federal initiatives. And through that, we have done a lot of different paths that have enabled us to have human resources for the different stages of production. I would also say that one of the things that we value a lot is diversification. We are, just because of the place that we're located in, most of the people that work for us is one of the minorities in the US, which is the Latino population. And we have also tried to incorporate a lot of elder people that sometimes I believe that cannot contribute, but we have found them very useful in our processes. We have benefited from their very best experience, and we're proud of that. I would just add, because I think that sustainability that does play a vital role for competitiveness and productivity, not only goes along with the workforce, but also with the CO decreasement initiatives, the waste reduction initiatives, and we'll be proudly doing all of these programs alongside with the federal and the state governments.
Okay. And Madam Tui, I understand that VinFast is also thinking through how to develop a leading edge STEM workforce in your North Carolina investment community. So just wanted to hear about some exciting things that you're doing to develop your talent pipeline.
Yeah, we're going to need thousands of people, and preparing for that is like our team has been working for the last more than a year on it. We started working with all the university in the state of North Carolina, getting to know all the blue collar of North Carolina, just so that we can start recruiting them. We work with the community college around the Chatham County and in North Carolina in order to prepare the workforce, and also we created a center of excellence on site with the state in order to bring in technology and start training people for our startup production. So a lot of activities have been happening for the last 1 year on site.
That's great. And those partnerships, the partners that you have, it sounds like they're multi-stakeholder partnerships.
Exactly.
And that your partners are very well equipped to develop new course material and to help you train your workers.
Exactly. And then we also, we got a lot of support from the local government as well. So various organizations in the government have been supporting us as well.
That's great.
It's been great.
So, Dr. Choi, you have the same challenge at scale. You've got 20,000 workers here in the U.S. What are the skills that are most important to you, and how are you deepening the expertise of your local workforces in order to make sure that you've got pipelines of people who are really skilled and ready to go?
Okay. So, as said, tax incentive was pretty important. So when we decide to invest in the United States, but not just other than that, there's workforce, talented workforce in the United States was a key. So we invested in the United States. It's academia and also industry is well trained. We are pretty happy to get all those people work together to make Samsung business their positions in the market. So also we have a number of it's a university collaboration program, and also from elementary school to high school, STEM school program, and many other things as we are doing across states. We really appreciate lots of our It's a business. It's inherited from the contributors from U.S. It's a scientist, a physicist, and many others. It's recently, this year, is a Nobel Chemistry Prize went to 3 chemists in the United States. Yeah. I was really appreciate. It's because they invented quantum dot. Is from the first. It got some contribution to our Samsung TV today. So I sent out 3 TV sets to all those 3 Nobel Prize recipients to appreciate their own it's a great contribution to our business. That's it.
So it sounds like the university system is really important to you, and the ability to collaborate with universities here on some of the research that is most important to the sectors you're in. And Ms. Lacaze, I want to slightly change the focus and just ask how you are working on, in particular, the environmental practices as you're making these investments here in the U.S. and how are you working with different partners to address those kinds of environmental issues?
It's such an important question, isn't it? And I would actually start again with a little advertisement for Australia. The mining industry in Australia leads the world in terms of safety and sustainability practices. It still amazes me, and I'm sure Dr. Forrest is the same, that we can go to meetings or sites outside of Australia and see practices that, frankly, we would be gravely concerned about in our home jurisdiction, and particularly with respect to safety. In terms of sustainability, our approach here in the US to both safety and sustainability is the same as it is in Australia and the same as it is in Malaysia. There is no cultural or geographic relativity to these matters. Human bodies are broken the same way all over the world, right? No matter what colour or creed or citizenship they have. And so we have no relativity on this. The standard that we have is the same standard everywhere. So very early, as we went through the process of early design of the factory, one of the first things that we put in were our safety measures, our safety KPIs, how we would benchmark those and how we would measure them. In terms of sustainability, running our plant, our mine, is the same as anything else. We can choose to do it using best practice sustainability or not. Well, we choose to do the former. And what does that mean? It means minimizing the impact on our surrounding environment. And we do that by, in the first instance, design. So ensuring there are no pathways for materials from the plant to actually escape into the surrounding environment in a way which will cause harm, right? An example of this is in our plant in Malaysia, the DOE says that the water which comes out of the Gebeng industrial estate is cleaner than the water that goes in, because we don't release anything until it's been through 4 different treatment cycles. The second is absolutely about measurement. If you don't measure and keep track of what you're doing in the plant, then you will have a problem over time. The third is to have a long-term view of your business, a long-term plan. Particularly in terms of mining, we have a life of mine plan, which ensures that we are continuously rehabilitating as we run our operations. This is best practice in terms of sustainability. Don't just do a lot of stuff and then one day wake up and say, oops, now we've got to deal with that. Actually have it factored into your business plan from day one. And then finally, this point about continuous improvement, continuously improving our process. So for example, we're currently running a pilot which we expect will be at the heart of the plant here in Texas, which gives us 100% chemical and water recycling within the plant. right? So and that's beneficial from a sustainability basis, but also guess what? Costs a whole lot less. So, we're pretty keen on that as well. But continuous innovation, never saying, well, we got it right the first time, so we won't think about that anymore. So continuously innovating is crucial. But none of us will survive if we don't focus on these twin factors within our businesses, because they really create the foundation for future success.
Yeah. Well, it's a very concrete example. I think the President was talking earlier today about bringing the same high standards to all of our investments in the region. And it sounds like that is exactly the practice that you've adopted. So I want to turn now to thinking about the future. And I'm going to start with Dr. Forrest. And I'd just like to hear what green tech you're most optimistic about, what we should all be thinking, has the greatest promise for the future, and what more should we be doing here in the U.S. to create the best possible environment for innovation and for these investments?
Okay, great question. Start with what you are doing and continue to encourage that. We are the third largest taxpayer in Australia, Australia's highest performing company. You brought us in because you've offered tax credits on an industry which doesn't yet exist, which is, as I've observed, really clever. Other clever things is your own technology, and we are looking at solar systems now which have a much higher effectiveness around being able to convert sunlight. It started at 14%, 12%. It's now up around 20, 24%. It could go as high as 38 to 40%. Now, that's completely transformational for countries all around the world. That's technology which looks like getting started here in the United States. We have around $80 million funding that particular research in Colorado. It's your renewable energy lab you got going 50 years ago. So American foresight, and I'd say continue encouraging that, continue encouraging and rewarding technology development. People come to the United States from all over the world, A, because they want to participate in that, they'd like to be employed by it, but secondly, to harvest it and to extrapolate those results all over the world. And where we're facing into a future now where if we don't switch off our oil and gas consumption, if we don't move towards the recommendations contained in, you can all look it up, it's called the Positive Power Plan. If we don't do that, then the clear evidence is that the mammalian species, at least, will cease to exist somewhere between now and the end of the century. So because of that, technology I see as being the absolute key. I'd say to every industrialist, don't wait. If you're using someone else's technology you haven't been able to invest in yet, which has not yet been developed, to start your journey against burning fossil fuels, then I'd say you're probably the wrong person for the job, because the technology exists right now. But walk and chew gum, get going straight away, and then invest in technology all over the world. America, keep investing in your own technology, invest in your own universities, invest in your own people, because it will pay off 100-fold.
Well, that's great advice. Any you want to hazard any bets in terms of what are some of the most promising forward-looking technologies? You mentioned the greater efficiency of solar. Are there any others that you're really excited about?
So look, I'm extending levels of risk here, right? So solar, I feel certain is going to happen. Fusion energy, if you can imagine this, pushing two positive magnets together creates an enormous amount of energy. We know it's done very successfully by the sun with huge gravitational mass, gravitational energy, running at around 25 million degrees centigrade to make that plasma roll. Here on Earth, we've got to do it 4 times that. We're going to run at about 100 million degrees centigrade. So that's pretty tough. What wall is going to keep that in, keep that heat in? Well, the answer is no wall. Have a magnetic field which keeps that heat energy in. You don't need a wall. Now, that breakthrough, I think, could lead to getting fusion reactors, zero pollution, That's the lovely part. Zero pollution. Fusion reactors going within the next 5, to be really ambitious, to 10 on the outside, where they're burning way more, creating way more energy than they're burning. And I think that's really exciting technology. We should invest in it. Once one is done, it's the kind of technology you actually could mass produce. So yes, I'm very interested in that as well. But I like to hit the crocodile closest to the canoe. That is global warming. I've got a paddle. That's called solar and wind. I'm going to hit the crocodile, called global warming.
I like that. I'm not sure the crocodile analogy works for all of us, but Dr. Choi,
You've got to come from Australia.
I will let you use a different
That's what I was
analogy if it's
thinking.
more apt. But also would like you to look a little bit into the future, what you're most keen on investing in, and also to give us some advice in terms of what more we need to be doing here.
Okay, so we may need to have the 3 items to invest more in America. The first one maybe it's because current tax credit incentive is still is temporary. For example, 5 years CHIPS Act and IRA. So if we have more permanent kind of tax incentive, that could be very good for us to envision and draw our long-term roadmap to invest for the technology in United States. The other one is currently we got those kind of tax incentives in the semiconductor and also electric vehicle batteries, but it's displays and the biotechnology. Still, we invested some, but we couldn't get the incentive. If we get the other technologies, so we can get the incentive, that could be very beneficial to motivate our investment in United States. The last one would be, as I said before, workforce is pretty important. And also, when we look at the globally, the global workforce, international skilled workers, we have pretty much. So if U.S. government give us more of the skilled hard workers, immigration quotas is getting higher, that would make our investment more motivated to United States. Yeah.
That's helpful. And in terms of the future of your industry, are there particular things that are exciting that you're seeing on the horizon?
Oh, yeah. It's not just other than current business. We are looking at, there's lots of the opportunities in AI and many other things, in the United States, We are closely looking at,
Yeah, okay, that's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear you on both extending the predictability of those incentives over a longer period of time and also expanding the scope to some new product areas, it sounds like would be 2 of your most important recommendations.
Right.
Madam Tui, I'd like to hear both on the innovation front, what kinds of innovations might you expect to come out of the joint R&D work that you're doing in North Carolina and how that might contribute to your business model? And also beyond the IRA and the bill incentives, what additional things should we be doing to support your success here in the US?
I think our industry is the future of mobility, right? Because the whole world is moving from internal combustion engine vehicles to EVs. So there are a lot of exciting technologies from like a lot of connected features in the vehicles. So the cars today are no longer just the car. The car is actually a phone on the wheels. So it's very connected and loaded with features, or promised to be loaded with features in the future, a lot of features in the future. Also, like other technology like battery technology, how can you drive longer range with shorter time to charge, and just many other things that are coming. So we are disrupting the whole automotive industry and taking it to the next level. So a lot of exciting technology as the result of that, application of AI, just many things to name. I think in terms of what we would like to ask from the U.S. government, I think the investment environment is great. I mean, very clear policy, very helpful people, incentives, so just wonderful things. I think if anything that we could ask for, I guess more stability in the policy, like something like the IRA coming out of nowhere, kind of put us in a pretty bad position. or if you cannot keep the stability of the policy, then maybe like give some grace period to the people that already committed to invest here, right? So give them some certain period because they already invested, they already put the money in. So that would be greatly appreciated. And I think another thing that I probably on everybody's mind is the cost, the maybe labor cost, the cost in general. We come here with with certain investment thesis, right? So business case, and just maintaining the cost, labor cost to some extent, when be able to help us succeed here.
That's helpful. Yeah, so predictability of our legislative process sounds like an important priority.
Or grace period.
Or grace period if we don't have that amount of predictability. So I think we'll probably focus on the grace period. That's a good suggestion. And in terms of same kind of question to Ms. Ocampo, what more should we be doing here on supply chain resilience in pharma? It just seems like we saw the lack of resilience during COVID, and what more could we be doing there? And similarly, just what's exciting to you about what the future holds in your industry?
Definitely, I think COVID showed that if demand changes dramatically, it's impossible to meet it with supply. It was a worldwide initiative, and nonetheless, worldwide, every single country had scarcity in resources. So how to address that? Because even if in the future to come, we're all expecting that there won't be a pandemic, there will be other diseases, nonetheless, there's always disruptions in the supply chain. Because there is international trade conflicts, because there is natural disasters, and if in some place, and I will give you an example that nowadays occurs, for example, capsules. Maybe it's not like the principle, but just a component of a medicine. The lead times are very, very long. So maybe just because of a natural disaster happening somewhere in the world, the lead time will become larger. And you can wait for a car, you can wait for a technological gadget, but if you have cancer or even diarrhea, you cannot wait. You need the pharmaceutical product to be available all the time. So what can be done? I think that has to start with information. Because nowadays, the global trade of all the different components for a pharmaceutical product, it's becoming more and more complex, more and more opaque, and it also is becoming more concentrated. So I would say the first thing that is needed is transparency. To map the distributors, to map the suppliers of the suppliers, and not just to map their capabilities, but map their vulnerabilities. And the first vulnerability comes from the soul. Many of us and all the pharmaceutical companies are trying, especially if we produce generics, we're trying to shift production in order to reduce costs. But that gives us a lot of difficulties in planning. So again, first thing is transparency. And during all the stages of production, because you need to have transparency on the development, on the manufacturing, on the delivery, and on the storage of the product. Only in that way you can know if there will be a potential problem in the whole chain. I would say also that the increase more sources of supply, because nowadays 40% of pharmaceutical components are done on the same region. So if a natural disaster comes, even if it's not a pandemic, again, there is a source there of problems. So geodiversification would be the first thing. And second thing would be increasing domestic manufacturing of components. And for that, I would say, what can the United States do? Trade, information, and there's a problem in the pharmaceutical industry, which is regulation. There's different regulations worldwide. So even if a component can be found in some other country, you won't be able to acquire it because regulation in country X is different than regulation in country Y. So the world needs to advance in order to really be able to provide medicines for, like it happened before, we at least need to target certain medicines and have a certain degree of homogeneity in regulations. So that's, I think that I believe that can be advanced.
That's very clear. All right, well, I want to just thank all of you, first of all, for the leadership and the exciting work that you're doing, I think in all of your respective areas. Very exciting. Secondly, for taking these important steps in investing here and making that kind of vote of confidence in the U.S. And thirdly, for sharing your really phenomenal insights here today. So please join me in thanking the panelists.
Well done. Well done. Well done, you guys.
To bring us home today, thank you for Dr. Brainerd and a wonderful panel, just sensational. We want to close with a wonderful friend, Dr. Rita Jo Lewis, the chair of the EXIM Bank. Worked closely with her in her previous capacity in the State Department. She's going to talk to us a little bit about how important this is for the United States. Rita, please.
First of all, thank you very much for giving us a few minutes as we wrap up this session around Invest in America and Select USA. You know, part of what this panel just said, talked about was, I think, a takeoff from what the president was talking about in his speech. It was like, why America, why now? And it's all about why America, right, why now, about investing in America. And first of all, would love to thank Secretary Raimondo for her comments, because Secretary Raimondo is an ex-officio board member of the EXIM Bank. And to be able to see here our NEC Director, Bernard, and the CEOs talk about the work that they're doing in America really, I think, underscores this next announcement that we're going to be doing. And so with our director, our coordinator, Kurt Campbell, he is so right. He and I have worked together on numerous occasions. And this could be this one today could not be even more exciting. You know, under the leadership of President Biden, EXIM is not only meeting its mission to support U.S. jobs through facilitating the exports of U.S. goods and services, but also leading the charge to support American prosperity through a strong and diverse portfolio across the Asia Pacific. EXIM is currently screening and vetting billions of dollars of early-stage opportunities with companies in the APEC economies. Currently, when Congress reauthorized the EXIM Bank, we were awarded a $135 billion lending cap. EXIM wants to work with you to grow our pipeline, and we have authorized about $33.5 billion. So we have about $100 billion left to authorize. And so that means that being here today says we want to work with you and use the financing tools that EXIM Bank has to offer to be able to help your businesses not only to compete, but also to win. When Congress reauthorized the Export-Import Bank back in 2019, they asked us to do four additional key things as we supported American companies as well as the foreign buyers who wants to work with our companies on with their goods and services. They asked us to make more financing available in the transformational export area, especially as our companies are competing against China. They asked us to make more financing available in the small business arena, as well as renewables, and also in sub-Saharan Africa. I think what most people don't understand about USXM is that we, as an independent federal agency, we work with large, medium, and small on companies with for their goods and their services. Just last year, we authorized over $8.7 billion in transactions for large and small businesses. Now, 90% of that transactions was in the small business arena. And so we did 90% of the transactions that XM does is in the small business arena. And of that $8.7 billion that we transacted last year, $2.4 billion was awarded to small business. Now, I will tell you that in every conversation that we have had this week and throughout the time that I have served as chair, small business keeps coming up time and time again. And so that's why in the APEC economies, we know that the value that we have right now from an exposure perspective is about $3.9 billion. That is not nearly enough, and we are continuing to work with all of you. Last year, we authorized and completed about 188 transactions that represented about $586 million in authorizations for borrowers in the APEC economies. And so whether you're talking about roads or electricity or internet connectivity, we want to work and collaborate with you to support the needs of the people across your region. You know, XM Bank is here to say we want to work with you. And right now, we all know that the Asia Pacific arena is experiencing remarkable economic growth. Many of the nations are rapidly urbanizing, increasing disposable incomes, and growing middle class, all of which will contribute to a rise in consumer spending. So that's why when we were all listening to President Biden earlier, we're so grateful for his leadership, because together, one of the things that he has asked all of us to do in the United States government is to work in a whole of government approach. And so being here with agencies like the Department of Commerce and the White House and so many other agencies that are represented today, we're really focusing on how America can also be a stronger partner and a stronger collaborator to make investments to increase resilient supply chains here in the United States much more expedient and supportive for all of us. You know, at XM, we have signed several co-financing agreements with APEC export credit agencies, including Australia. You see the business people that were represented here today, Canada, JBEC and Nexi of Japan, as well as Korea, K-Shore, and KXM. We think that these co-financing agreements are important for several reasons, but at the top of the list is about mitigating risk. And so it is important for us to not only have those types of co-financing agreements, it is important for us at XM to be innovating and to be continuing to increase the kinds of products, financing products that we have. And that's why as we look towards the future, we are exploring additional co-financing agreements and different types of opportunities to leverage what we call our Make More in America initiative. You know, solving these challenges that was caused by the COVID-19 pandemic, where we all saw the longstanding gaps in America's supply chain. We saw it was also including insufficient manufacturing capacity and the erosion of the United States export industrial base. We believe that solving these challenges and building economic resilience and revitalizing America's manufacturing and export capacity is why President Biden issued an executive order that fixes this. And so, in short, when we talk about the Make More in America initiative, as we call it, that was approved last year by our board of directors, we know it helps us also, especially in sectors critical to national security. And so it's a tool that that is being provided to American manufacturers, particularly small and medium-sized businesses, access to capital that fills our critical supply chain gaps. But you know, one of the things that is exciting about what is happening today, as we listen to the companies talk about the work that they're doing in America, when the title of this session is also about investing in America, we are so excited at XM to be here to be able to announce that we have issued just today the support for electric aircraft domestic manufacturing facility during the 2023 summit of APEC. This is our second transaction under the XM Make More in America initiative, and it's going to support 400 jobs. Who is that going to be awarded to? It is going to be awarded to Kyle Clark, who is the founder and CEO of Beta Technologies. Kyle Clark, you know, he's an aerospace engineer. He's a pilot. He is a leader and the company is a leader in the electric aircraft. So, you know, Kyle, when you say as your bio likes to say, and all of the work that we've done with you, from Harvard to the National Hockey League, now from Harvard, the National Hockey League, to Tex Exec. As a former professional ice hockey player, I don't think anyone is more equipped to be the unicorn that Kyle and his team is going to be with the work that he is going to describe that he is doing. This morning, we awarded a $169 million loan to Beta to finance its state-of-the-art net zero final assembly facility, which will support, again, the 400 good-paying jobs, clean energy jobs in Burlington, Vermont. So to Kyle, we want to say thank you for helping us lead the world in technological advancements and innovation. And we thank you for what you're going to be creating today. And we look forward to listening to you talk about the work that you're doing, that you have been doing, talk about the workforce that you're training, talk about the young people that you are innovating with in terms of the work that they're going to be doing with you. And we are so excited at XM that we believe that as part of the future of aviation, Beta is definitely a prime example. And XM Bank, as one of your financing facilities, is really excited about being with you in this collaboration. And with that, I want to bring up the next unicorn for electric vehicles. Yes, Kyle Clark.
All right. So my PR guy told me I wasn't allowed to swoon over Chairman Lewis or her team, but I'm going to break those rules because they have been absolutely awesome to us. The XM Bank, it's been a phenomenal process, and her team has this unique expertise in aerospace, something that's close to my heart, and the expertise is deep and rigorous and methodical, and has an understanding from working with many great aerospace companies in the United States. It's awesome to be here today. Again, Kyle Clark from Beta Technologies. I know it's not really hard to say Beta Technologies. The President struggled with it a little bit today, so we're going to spell it phonetically next time. And I talked to his comms team. They're going to fix it in post-processing. So when that comes out, we're going to hear Beta from the President. America has a long history of innovation, specifically in aerospace technologies. And I don't need to list them off, but my goodness, everything that has come, I think, to the goodness of the front runners of aerospace has come through America. And aerospace has an interesting position in driving residual technologies, from material science to controls to semiconductors. And in my opinion, aviation has the ability to just transform the world. It connects the world already. It can transform the world. In our company, we're creating a technology that accesses the Z dimension, the dimension up and down, in an entirely new way. And in my opinion, we're doing that in a way that is completely transformative to a sustainable aviation future by doing it all electric. It's not complicated. It costs less, electric aviation, and it's more sustainable. And what are the repercussions of that? Electric aviation will give us access to rural communities, to healthcare, to the transportation of goods from small businesses into large communities. And as I've heard numerous times today, APEC is on a mission to use technology for resiliency and a sustainable future. And we at Beta share this mission. So we're building this electric aerospace company, and we believe it will bring us to a sustainable and resilient future. We've developed multiple different kinds of electric aircraft, from fixed wing to vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, to a charging network that's gone all over the United States. Just recently, we delivered our first aircraft to the Air Force. We flew all the way down the East Coast, and it was like a fascinating trip. I'm going to break script here for a second because I'm going to tell you about what it was like. This is a great picture, by the way. An amazing amount of safety analysis and regulatory analysis to get us access to fly directly over the Capitol in downtown DC. We stopped at 20 different airports, went through 12 states, and at every airport, people came up to the airplane and they were like, that's electric? Is it all electric? Is it hybrid electric? All on batteries? And how far does it go? Well, the answer to that is it goes, the longest we've flown on that particular aircraft actually is 386 miles on a single charge. That aircraft's flown the equivalent of around the world and more in total distance. And now we're delivering it to customers. It's really amazing. And we're seeing this international appetite now for the aircraft. And we're seeing it with real purchase orders. And we're seeing it specifically in APEC countries. A couple of examples, we just signed a purchase order with Helijet in Canada up in Vancouver. Down in New Zealand, they've adopted us into their next-gen aircraft program. And it's not complicated as to why. There's a 75% reduction in net emissions on today's electric grid, which, as we heard from Dr. Forrest and others, is only getting better. So as we charge this aircraft in the future, it is going to be not only net operational zero, but net zero in its total energy consumption. So although I'm really proud of this technology, I'm also very proud of our company, Beta Technologies. And I'll just to give you a little history, if you bear with me for a minute. We're a Vermont company. And when my wife and I, who met when we were 12 and 13 years old in Vermont, talked about making a future and doing neat things, people told us, you got to get out of Vermont. You got to get out of town. You got to go to the valley. And I thought, well, geez, we're in the valley. We're in the Champlain Valley. Isn't that good enough? So we started creating the business. And we started creating this business and other business. And this stuck. And I think it's time that we upend this limited worldview that innovative ideas only come from a few places. And that innovation has a zip code. It doesn't. Innovation comes all over this country and all over the world. So as Chairman Lewis said, we created this in Vermont. And the technology and the engineers was the first step. And the next step we're embarking on is building this manufacturing center. It has 450 geothermal wells. It's got 2 acres of solar. It's net zero. It sits on a pad of recycled glass. It's a fascinating building a fascinating airplane. And that's just the building. There's the airplane. Then we have the people. The people there are most important in our business. And the chair and I have spoken a lot about workforce development. And one of the things we do, we have this really robust internship program. And this internship program, we've got 600 people in the business right now. We have 80 interns a summer. With this financing in this facility, we're adding another 400 people to build the aircraft, and that's only the first phase. So we're just getting warmed up right now, and this workforce development is really important to us. We have Beta employees teaching in the State University of Vermont, bringing people up into electric aviation. We've got aerospace coding programs with the Tech Center. And all of that is creating a product that comes off the line. And you guys heard Laura Lane talk about UPS's commitment and purchase order with Beta. They're going to transform their entire network to deliver net zero packages point to point in the future. And we've already done a series of demonstrations with them, by the way, moving packages out of their hubs and proving this technology is real. And it's time to get ready to build it. So I'm just going to wrap it up real quick here. In the last 120 years, the U.S. has led the world in exports of aircraft. In my opinion, this technology will allow the U.S. to continue to be the leader in exports of aircraft and technology. And we get to manufacture it in the United States, work with many of the APEC countries to deploy the sustainable aviation. And a heartfelt thank you to Chair Lewis, your team, the Davids, the folks at XM have been spectacular to work with, thorough, reliable, and the depth of diligence that was done on this made me feel really good about the quality of the business that we've built and the quality of the operation you guys run. So thank you, and thanks for hanging out, as someone said earlier, during your lunch hour. Appreciate it.
I'm sorry, guys. That was just incredibly inspirational. I'm leaving the White House, and I'm going to take an internship in Vermont starting tomorrow. Wow. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you all enjoyed and learned a lot from this last hour and a half. I think you see why we are so invested in Invest in America. Since the Biden administration has come to office, over $200 billion invested in the United States, and so many interesting cutting-edge technologies and capabilities. Thank you all for coming. Enjoy APEC week. I'll see you all in Vermont. Thank you.